Hi guys, welcome to the podcast of our Enzyme team.
The older books got bored. Now people want something a visual treat, and that allows us to know.
And that's cinema. Cinema is more than what we watch. It is a way of expressing things visually and using audio. And this is Anirudh,
This is Kishore.
Joel.
here to explain you about cinema and movie buff.
Okay, so the cinema is actually an extended art. So you know that cinema is a modern version of drama that originated from a drama. So here the movies is like a literature, same as a mirror of life, are reflecting the life of a man, even a human. So on focusing on the life of man, there is a genre called as biographies. So there are many famous biographies in our cinema industry that was told by my friend.
While speaking of biographies, we can see various cinemas in our Kollywood as well. For instance, we can say Amaran, which was a recent film, which was a blockbuster. Amaran is a recent film which speaks about the Major Mukund who lost his life. And while speaking, we can also get Surya Reporter, which was also a box office hit, and Got Life, which was a Mollywood film which got more recognition not well as in the Mollywood but also in various film industries as well.
And of course, we cannot ignore MST, the untold story, the life of our Tala, the Dhoni,
And also the latest Hollywood release by the biography of Dr. J. Robert Oppenheimer, the very notable film called Oppenheimer by our beloved director Christopher Nolan, of course.
And seeing in a broader term, we can see the cinema into two terms, namely commercial and art films. So commercial films are something that focuses on box office collection or for entertainment. So and art films are something that produced in a way to develop our livelihood. So the some of commercial films that recent times is like Puspa, KGF, and Bahubali, etc., etc. So what do you think about the commercial movies?
While speaking about the commercial films are only famous and are highly profitable in our kind of movies because our generation and our kind of people are only treated and only fond of seeing commercial films rather than seeing a good kind of films because we are trained and we are practiced by our parents by seeing these kinds of films. So that kind of commercial films get high box office collections, and while comparing with good films, good films get box office failures because they are not encouraging the good films.
And one such example is actually Videography by Ajit Kumar, who is also referred as AK. It is a very well content driven film, but it didn't receive much hype as Pushpa did. Reason, people are not really interested to watch fully content driven films. People want masala, they want essence, they want something more lively to watch it. And which is the reason why most of the good films are actually a miss in box office collections.
Yes, I of course I agreed with you, Mr. Anirudh, because we are bought in a way that we have to watch this kind of movies like commercial hits and a movie where the hero is portrayed as a very good fellow, having many of the good qualities. So in literature, we don't mention the main character as hero. Instead, we say protagonist because protagonist is not need not to be a good fellow. He can be a murderer. He can be a corrupted fellow. But even he is a corrupted fellow, the story focuses on himself and his life and his surroundings. So in our today's cinemas, we have seen many of the movies where the protagonist is portrayed as a bad fellow or a villainous character, but still he's be the main part of the plot. So what do you think about that?
While considering your point, portraying protagonist as a bad fellow, it breaks the stereotype of that commercial films. Because while seeing the commercial films, the protagonist is always a good fellow, and we can see a bad fellow who is opposing the hero. He is named as antagonist, mainly the villain in cinematic terms.
And I gotta say, and when considering a protagonist not also to be a good character, one few notable films that portrayed that is Onion by Vikram, which was directed by Shankar. The protagonist is not essentially a good person. He has multiple different personalities, and he's a terrible person compared to society. But he also wants to change the society, and it was well written commercially, so it was able to get more audience. And another thing is, of course, Goat, a recent time film where Talabadi Vijay actually acts in two dual roles, while the son character is not really a positive role, like a anti-villain character,
Yes, yes.
almost a villain. So these kind of works actually prove that protagonist doesn't really need to be a good person. Protagonist is a person the whole film or the cinema is just centered around with, and we have to learn to accept more of these kind of films and just understand what they are trying to tell us, the story they are trying to convey us with these characters.
And while speaking of art films, a art is for teaching and delight, told by greatest critic Aristotle. So in his terms, while speaking on art films, the much the art is nearer to the originality, the much we get the pleasure. So while speaking on art films, we can give examples of some of the films like Valai, Kottukali, and Meyyalagan, of course, because it is a simple film that follows the background of two men discussing with themselves. So the main plot of the story that they speak of their past flashbacks and even some of the politics too. So what do you think about that? Will the people support the art films?
Yeah, now the stereotype has been breaking by the recent generations. So the good films are getting much recognition rather compared to the commercial films. So in my point of view, both the commercial films and the good films will clash between in the box office collection, and as well as it will get much recognition compared in the previous generation.
And I'm really glad that our generation is getting to celebrate Mayalgan, because even our parents couldn't really get what it was trying to say.
Find
They
it
said
more
it was,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course, it was very boring and dragging and such. But I feel like I really like Mayalgan because it has the good emotional depth that we have between two friends. They were just jovial, trying to enjoy themselves by singing songs, reminiscing their old flashbacks. And I feel like us as a generation has much more evolved when it comes to cinema, because our parents only used to watch commercial movies, of course,
Of course.
and they were not exposed to international films. It was very narrow, the scope was very narrow. But we as a generation Gen Z, we are starting to accept more and more films in many number of genres, and by different budding characters, budding directors, of course. And I'm glad that the cinema is actually getting the recognition that it always should have.
When we compare literature with the cinema, we can say that the art films is like a romantic movement that breaks the rules of the classical writers of classicism. So the art films, some of the peculiar, in other words, we can say that some of the peculiar movies like Buried, Otta Serupu, and Iravin Nilal. Iravin Nilal is one of the movie that the whole movie is taken in a one shot film. And Otta Serupu, where we can see only one person, that the protagonist name is Mr. Parthiban, where he only portrayed in a screen from start till the end. So these of the movies, of course, they breaks the rules of the movies that was thought and uh, structured by the previous directors. So these films may not be get the support they are planned to get, or maybe they get the support. So what are the ratio of that good films or art films getting the support from the audience?
While speaking about the good films, we can see that while directing the good films, most of the directors taking the role part of that protagonist in the films. While speaking about that Vathasarapu Saisele, Batman is the director and as well as the hero. So while making our directing a good film, we can feel that the writer or the script writer can feel the character, because we need to feel the character. We need to live the character to write the character. So you gotta live that character. So while living the character and writing, it's better if you act that character. And Parthiban has lived that character in that recent film. In Telugu cinema, we can see Kantara is a movie which speaks cultural and tradition. The role of the protagonist is played by the director as well. So he lived the character in the movie. So that's the main idea. I can see that good film gets recognition.
And of course, when it comes to Hollywood, I guess that they all accept non-linear storytelling. For example, of course, Christopher Nolan's movies,
All
almost
Christopher Nolan movies.
all
Yeah.
of Christopher Nolan movies are non-linear stories. Example, Interstellar, and his first ever movie, Memento. And these are all very good examples of non-linear storytelling that reveals that a story doesn't need to be very well structured. It can be said in whatever way that the director thinks that, and whatever way the audience could interpret. And I feel like the only thing that only recent movie that we as an Indian audience accepted this non-linear storytelling is Maharaja.
Of course.
It is a
Yeah.
very well film that was acted by Vijay Sethupathi, directed by Nitin and Swaminathan, and I feel like it was really good when it comes to non-linear storytelling, because the twists and turns they show in it, of course, mind blowing. And I feel like we as an audience should accept it more and more. That's my point.
Well said, Mr. Anirudh. As you said that the Maharaja is example for non-linear movie. Actually, it breaks the one of the three unities: the unity of time, place, and action.
Of course.
Of course, it breaks the unity of time and action. Of course, you know that the movie is need not to be well structured. Actually, well structured in the sense it start from a beginning and have the flashback and goes on. We can shuffle the movie from the time of the movie, or we can shuffle the scenes, but still we get the meaning of the movie. That's a phenomenon of the cinema, you know. Of course,
Yes, the true essence of the movie can be interpreted.
yes, of course, there is a cinema. We have a something term called cinematic liberation. For example, in Triple R movie, we can see Ram Charan as a police officer having a medium-sized hair, but for the police, they have to cut a hair for very short. Cinematic liberations that we can use in our movies. So to look or to make the movie more interesting and watchable by the peoples.
Yes, of course. It shows that it could be localized for the people so that they could interpret it well and find it more relatable. Because not exactly all the things should be as what they were designed to be. Because of course the haircut the police does, it all it all seems peculiar, but for accepting it to the audience,
People
I think
accept
it's
it
made-
actually.
yeah, it is made like that. And of course, and when it comes to cinema, we should always recognize these few structures that they have inside it, like the modules, the cinematography, the sound technicality, the soundtracks, the music composing, and the photography works, the direction, the screenplay, and writing of the story, of course, script direction. And I feel like cinematography is something that should be really appreciated and taken note of, because the main thing of the movie is visuals. And what good is a visual if it's not really appealing to the eyes, you know?
We
And
don't see it.
yeah, of course, if it's not really interesting and bright or colored, or if it's different or dystopian, we don't see it. It doesn't get the attraction of us. So this cinematography plays a major part in showing us the cinema. And I feel like I should mention a really good person in cinematography, which is Roger Deakins, who is a cinematographer of Blade Runner 2049 and almost all of Denis Villeneuve's movies. Please, guys, you should search up his name. Denis Villeneuve is a person who directed Dune Part 1 and Part 2, and a notable work called Sicario and Blade Runner 2049 with Ryan Gosling, of course. And it is really a great piece of cinematography where the structure of the camera scenes were so good with the natural lightings they already had, and with the visual effects they make it so appealing and different to what we actually imagine. You know, they capture our imagination. It is a way of capturing our essence of imagination.
Attention.
Yeah, of course. And cinematography should be appreciated and should be taken note of. And of course, when it comes to soundtracks, sound plays a major role.
Of
It
course.
elevates the movie.
Music.
Yes, the BGMs, the music, the soundtracks that they compose for the movie, it just completely, fully gives us the experience of a cinema. And of course, Anirudh, a great music composer.
Of course, Anirudh, a great music composer.
Yes, my name itself is Anirudh, and I'm glad that I'm praising him. And M.M. Keeravani, the music composer of Bahubali, and notable Hollywood music composers like Hans Zimmer, who composed music for Inception, Man of Steel, Superman movie. And those soundtracks that he composed is really like, it gives you goosebumps, you know, when you try to hear it.
The
You
music
really
has this power.
yeah, of course, it feels like you immerse in that scene. You are literally living it along with the sound that he tries to show with us. And I feel like these two things, the visual and sound, these things play a major important role, and we as evolving audience should feel like we should get to appreciate more of these kind of persons who try to give us to us. And my point is that cinema is not just the story that we see of, but also the efforts and tireless hard work done by the people who done to every single thing like sound, cinematography, photography, script selection, script writing, everything, etc.
Actually, I want to thank you, Mr. Anirudh, for clearing this type of definition with this definition. Actually, cinema is a very broader term. Actually, cinema is a very broader industry. Actually, cinema is a broader term that has many elements like screenplay, fashion designing or dressing, and dialogue writing, content writing, etc., etc. But we failed to appreciate the people who are behind these good cinemas. For we have to produce a good cinema or a film, there are thousands of people who work behind the scenes. But we failed to appreciate and give credits to these people, you know. And you also mentioned the term like localizing the elements. Okay, actually, and I can conclude this point by saying that in dubbing, actually, cinema has no language, no barrier, etc. That is cinema actually. What is cinema? And while dubbing, we localize the content. Like yesterday, I watched a film like "Yen Per Surya Yen Uri India." That was a typical Telugu film that dubbed into Tamil version. And there we can use the dubbing and localize the content like Kolkata into Chennai and Andhra into Vadapalani, etc., etc. So that the people of Tamil Nadu or indigenous people or native people can relate to the movie more interesting and relate to the movie much more than the original version, I think. And while speaking of dubbing, of course, Hollywood, man, Hollywood has influence over many of the industries. Like in Tamil industry, we have some movies like Tick Tick Tick, where the it's a space typical space movie, where the director itself acknowledges that the movie is inspired from a Hollywood movie called Armageddon, and a first space movie in Kollywood, and a zombie movie called Mirudan, first attempt in Tamil industry for producing a zombie movie. And I think actually appreciate the directors who experimented in the cinematic universe, you know. Not only focusing on commercial films, giving dialogues or punchlines to the protagonist or a hero, or portraying hero as a very big person with all noble ideas and good ideas. I actually appreciate people who experiment in the industry. And one such film is like Kottukali. Of course, you know, that is a very basic film, very simple film, has many of the content. It is actually, it is a critical movie, you know, made for a critics. So what about you? What do you think about it?
When you are speaking about that directors getting inspired from the Hollywood movies, I can say that directors are also getting influenced by novels, especially novels like Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. We can see that they have adapted the novel, but they have converted into the movie. For the convenience of the people, they have made it some twists and turns, and they have made it enjoyable to watch. And for in Tamil industry, we can see that Kandu Konden, it's a adaptation of a novel called Sense and Sensible. We can see that the directors are not only getting inspired from the Hollywood or other film industries, they can also get inspired from the books they read. To not only to read, but they want us to see what they tell in the novel, because as you said, people are not fond of reading, but people are fond of visual things and audible things. That's why music and cinema are getting much recognitions. That's why they want us to acknowledge and they want us to learn what the author says in the book. That's why they make movies, and they will change the movies for the liking of the audience.
The people feel bored to study the books or read the books very silently. Instead, they want something like a visual treat, and that is what is called as cinema.
Of
Yes.
course, I myself am not a book reader, but when it comes to cinema, I could watch. I could
We are all
watch any much
cinephile,
of book
cinephile.
adaptations. Of course,
Lovers of cinema.
yes.
And even I am a student of literature, but even I find many stories of novels in a movie itself. I Pride and Prejudice and Sense of Sensation in a Kandu Konden, and of course Gladiator, Troy, historical movies, and one such movie is Pirates of Caribbean. Man, I'm a fan of Jack Sparrow. You know, the
course,
well
the
played
art-
role by the actor name.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, of course. Oh my God, Johnny Depp. His accents. He was born to play the role, man. I actually, and then I came to know that there is a novel named Pirates of Caribbean. That was wonderful, wonderful. And one such movie in Malayalam industry also, no?
Of course,
Yeah.
and it was a movie acted by Fahad Fasil. His name is Josie. I'm sure all of you would have seen it. And who knew that it was actually an adaptation of Macbeth? Yes, the very own Macbeth that you all studied in your literature stuff. And it was an adaptation of that. And I feel like these novels getting adapted to these movies is a wonderful thing. You know, more than just imagination that when books comes into life, like into visual and on audio, it's a good thing, really.
Of course, Anirudh, I want to clarify with you one thing that it is not we love the books less, but we love the cinema more. With this quote, I want to ask you one question, simple question. How people define a good cinema? What are the qualities needed to be a good cinema?
When people decide it is a good cinema, I can come up with a topic called emotion. People are more fond of seeing emotion and emotional people which they connect themselves, because serials getting more famous around previous generation than cinema, because it shows more emotions than cinemas. Because while seeing a serial, we can see that the director will show everyone's face, everyone's emotion, but so that we can clearly understand that people are more fond of emotions. While speaking about emotion, we can say a universal topic, that is love. Love is a topic which can be repeated in many movies and several times, which will not get bored. But if we take another topics, it will get bored if we repeat in the same way. While using love, it can be a universal topic which can be agreed throughout every generation, not only recognized by the now generation. Love is a topic which can be recognized, accepted throughout the generations.
And of course, love is something which could be really commercialized. But when it comes to different peculiar emotions, I should say about horror and thriller, of course. Because horror is something that either supernatural or something that disturbs our mind when we see it. Like films like Kanjana, of course, Aranmane.
It's childhood horror.
Yes, of course. I used to be very scared when I was watching when I was a kid, and other horror films which is supernatural when it comes to international base, like let's say for example Incantation, which was a very underrated movie, but is a good horror film when it comes to supernatural elements. And horror doesn't only define that it should be only in supernatural elements. Like it doesn't always have to be a ghost or something mysterious trying to do something. It can also be something that could affect you psychologically. This psychological horror is something that is not really interpreted in our industry, in Indian industry more, but it is widely adapted by the international audience. For example, I could say movies like Midsommar, Hereditary, which are psychological horror films, which was directed by the renowned director for this movie is called Ari Aster, and other psychological horror films could be more and more. We could say more like that. When it comes to Hollywood, they have so many examples. These are movies that really impact you when you watch it. It doesn't have normal horror like the supernatural elements. These are horrors that we are afraid to face as human beings. We cannot comprehend these things. It is reality. It could be happening. It is happening, and they try to portray it as beautifully as possible by showing us that these are the man-made horrors that are beyond our comprehension. And I feel like Indian industry is slowly adapting to that. For example, Maharaja is also a psychological thriller, because when after you watch Maharaja, of course you will have an impact on your psychological behavior, because it definitely disturbed you. Am I right? It disturbed you, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Of course it disturbed you. It disturbed me too. So these kind of horror and thriller films doesn't really need to be detective thrillers or just supernatural thrillers. It can be more than what we could face. It is very reality. It is realistic. It's human made, and these are exactly horrors. Horrors, things which are afraid to face. This is called as horror, and I feel like I'm glad that I'm starting to mention it out here, because we as generation should know more about it.
Speaking on horror movie, there was a directors, some of the director who could make the horror movie even more interesting. Like one of the such director is Mr. Sundarsi. Of course, his movie The Aranmanai Pentalogy. Actually, it's 4 movies. Yeah, only 4 movies.
I don't think it's going to stop its expanding its universe.
Of course, of course. Actually, that is the first time I see such a glamorous ghost in my lifetime. And of course, we cannot ignore Mr. Miskin. Of course, his movie P16, where the ghost can be portrayed as an angel. This is the first time in our cinema. And this was the first experience for me to see a ghost in a different perspective. Actually, I enjoyed a lot the movies. Actually, I mentioned earlier, we used the people used to do like the movie, like the directors who experiment their new ideas in the art of cinema, of course. And next is screenplay. Of course, as you mentioned earlier, screenplay plays a main role or pivotal role in a industry of cinema.
Yes.
And what are the how it contribute to the cinema, the screenplay?
For example, let's say screenplay is something that captures the essence of the story and puts it into your mind. For example, can we accept a black person or a dark skinned person trying to be an protagonist?
But yeah, there is a movie, no, the Kala.
Yes, of course, it is.
Superstar.
It is a superstar. Rajinikanth who has broken that
The style.
stereotype.
Yeah.
He is the first. I believe that he is a dark-skinned person who just broke all the obstacles in Indian cinema industry by being the biggest protagonist that over all of the Indian industry and also internationally is acknowledged.
Yeah.
And that is a big example of how this screenplay is showing that even a dark-skinned person such as Rajinikanth could be portrayed as such a stylish and for his style. And
yes, Anirudh. Now only I understand the plot of the movie. Yes, he always wear a black shirt and villain will wear a white shirt. Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
of course. Even a dark-skinned person can be portrayed into his charisma.
The war of colors.
Yes, of course. And I feel like screenplay is big role. It has a bigger role in showing you that. It exactly portrayed Rajinikanth into the most favorable person, even though people consider that dark skin is not really favorable. It elevated it.
He breaks the stereotypes.
Yes, it broke all these stereotypes and showed you what it should be shown.
While speaking about Kala, it comes under the category of biography. The Kala is basically a biography of a real life person in Mumbai, Dharavi.
Yes.
It was a study, which came across that I like to share here. Because we are speaking about the biographies, it comes under the category of biography.
Of course, in the movie, the Kala, the character Kala itself, it's a most powerful character, So, as a literarian, we always study that a character plays an important role in a drama or even in a movie. Of course, the depth of the characters is very much important for a movie. So, some of the directors like Vetrimaran, who is also a student of English literature, never failed to give the depth to the characters in his movies. Like we can say that from Adugalam, there is a character Dhanush played as a protagonist. There he was like a youthful character who always plays with his friends and earning some of the money from the rooster games, cockfighting, etc. And of course, there is a real opposite for Asuran, a farmer, a man who got a brutal anger for suppressing him, and that was a really nice movie. And the main important thing is that the end of the movie Asuran, there was a message given by the director to the people. When you feel oppressed, when you feel oppressed by the people, the only solution to get up in your life is like education.
Yes.
Education. Actually, I like that movie because the movie is something like a medium for teaching. It teaches the people the importance of education, and he gave the solution of the people who are known as oppressed people to came up a life that the only way is that education. If we educate our people or we get the education, we know how to guide the people or how to behave with the people, and that is the primary solution for the people to get up in a life. What do you think about that? Does the movie is only for entertainment or it also teaches the people?
While you were speaking about the message given in the end that mainly speak about the education. Cinema teaches people. Cinema needs to teach people. One kind of movie I can share is Mandela, which was acted by a comedy actor, Yogi Babu.
Yogi Babu sir.
He is
Yeah.
not portrayed as a comedy actor. He was portrayed as a comedy actor, but that movie educates people the importance of a single person's vote. Uh, while speaking about the vote, a similar movie, a commercial movie called Sarkar,
Yeah, yeah.
which was acted by a commercial hero, it was also speaking about the importance of one vote. He also gives reference from different elections, and he fights for his vote. And Mandela is not a big hit according to the box office, but Sarkar was a big hit according to box office, because Mandela is a film that was acted, which the protagonist was a comedy actor in cinema industry. While speaking about Sarkar, the movie was a hit because the hero who played the role in the Sarkar was a commercial hero. Both Mandela and Sarkar, even though they have given the same message, but people fail to give the recognition as much as they give the recognition to the Sarkar. They fail to give it to the Mandela because of a commercial hero. People are more fond of commercialization rather than pure message and pure education.
And of course, when it comes to other points, music is also a key. Music also plays a key role when it comes to cinema, because a lot of movies also got hit just because of the music.
Yeah.
You know, just because the songs look nice, we think the movie is going to be good. I'm not criticizing any movie, but just because the song is good, it attracts the audience. We as an audience think that it's going to be good. We anticipate that it's going to be good and watch it. For one such example is Nira from that movie called Tucker
Yeah.
by Siddharth. I'm not saying that the movie is bad. I'm not portraying it as it's bad, but I'm saying that it failed to deliver what it anticipated. But that the single song, that single track, sold them more audience than they could possibly catch from the theme of the movie. And of course, a lot of movies have songs which are like uh, pillar major pillar to their success. For example, let's take any Shankar movie. We'll see like A.R. Rahman always gives his best for Shankar. Nanban, Indian, of course. And we all love those songs. And also, when it comes to commercial movies done by Vijay or Ajit, the music directors like Anirudh, of course. And Yuvan Shankar Raja, Haris Jairas, these people like elevate the movies with their music. This music makes the movie like somewhat much bigger than it actually is. Like you did how I'm expressing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, music definitely does play a role in the success of movies and its box office collections.
As I told you earlier, that cinema has no language and no boundaries. I want to tell you one movie like Rajanna that was dubbed into Ambigabadi. I like the song very much. From the song only I came to know about the movie, and then I watched the movie. Like cinema, the music is also does not have any barriers in language. I love Tum Saath Ko, something like Hindi songs and even English songs. Language is not a barrier for art, of course. And other elements like dialogue writing. Actually, dialogue writing, when we enjoy the movie by the dialogues spoken by the characters. And localizing, you mentioned, earlier, the localizing the term or localizing the element in dialogue itself is a powerful elevation for the movie. As we say from Vadachennai, and of course, the dialogues plays an important role in the movie. And many movies like Yatisai, one such historical movie, we failed to celebrate a movie like Yatisai because they used the original Tamil dialogues. Actually, words that are poetical or lyrical. Originally, they came from literary works. So we failed to. Many people does not know about Yatisai. There's a movie came like the history of Pandyans or Pandyan kings. So so sometimes the people go behind the commercial elements. Like, so what are the other elements?
And I feel like I should mention script writing.
Script writing, yeah.
Script writing
Yeah.
is very important because in recent Shankar movies, for example, Indian 2 and Game Changer, we see that it failed to collect the same audience that it collected when it was during Endiran or Indian or any other Nanban. Of course, it's a remake, but it has a good script. It failed to collect the same audience that it collected before because Shankar's usual scriptwriter was Sujata, a famous poet and writer, great writer, who actually wrote scripts for Shivaji and political drama film and then Indian, of course, notable film Indian. These script writing by this person, this script writing, has been a major part to Shankar's success. You know, these box office hits wouldn't be possible if it wasn't a good script written film. Example is Indian 2. It was a really loosened script which was just over exaggerating with so many sequences that felt really unwanted and unordered. And Game Changer, of course, they tried to make up with the script, but I feel like it failed to catch what the previous stuff did. Yes, script writing
Matters.
script writing matters. Script is what the thing that makes the movie better to watch. It captures the essence of the movie.
Just like every artist, directors, each directors have their own style, you know, like Bala. Of course the movies would be a tragical end, but that focuses on an ordinary life, a normal life. Yeah, what I tell, exact life, you know, the exactly of the life. He portrays the real life incidents or a real life experience. He gives us a real life experience, like directors like Bala and Vetrimaran, who is very fond of course, an English literature student, and he was very much fond of novel-based stories, and ordinary life, and of course, and many, of course, there are some sect of directors who focuses on the lives of suppressed people, or the movie itself becomes the voice of suppressed people. Of course, man, the master of taste, Mr. Miskin sir. Wow, his movies like the art, a real art, man. They're like Pisasu and Onayam Mattum Kuttiyum, which focuses the articity or art, nature of the art of films, you know. And of course, we talk about the love. We cannot ignore Mr. Maniratnam, the lover boy of cinema. What do you think about him?
And I feel like Mani Ratnam's notable work, Okay Kanmani, O Kaval Kanmani,
Yeah, man.
is one of the most favorite films
The
of
classic.
our generation. Classic film.
The Bombay.
Yes, the Bombay look, the feel, the life, that how they live, the rides on Mumbai city. It all captures the essence of love, the essence of how Tara and Adi feel during that movie. They convey love so well because Maniratnam is a master in it.
Master of love.
And also, I should mention GVM because mentioning about love films without GVM feels meaningless. Like Vinay Tandi Varuvaya, of course, Varnamayiram, so many love films that they do. They have captured love so much that it has become a definition that we use. Because when we talk about love, we'll start to say that I want to love like Varnamayiram. Like the the relationship that Meghna and
The
Krishnan
ideal movie
has.
for love.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
And newer generations expect Tara and Adi's love. Like, we have derived generations from what they've shown us. We have derived generations from what they've shown us, and we feel like that is what our definition of love
The
is.
movie becomes the identity.
Because they've captured it so well and so efficiently that people start to take it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a very notable point here.
Yeah, of course. And of course, the awards for the movies, best movies, you know, Oscar. And in Tamil cinema, the Kollywood, there are two movies nominated for the Oscar. One is Jeans, and another one is like
Hera.
Heram, of course, man. And there are few movies that are considered for the Oscars, like Kangua for best picture qualities, and Kottukali, and Valai, and etc. etc. And what are the other awards that the best movie got? Like there was a movie, Minnal Murali, by the director Basil Joseph. That got director Basil Joseph got the best director award for Asian Creative Award for the movie Minnal Murali. But we know, but some of the people still now does not know about that. But before that, many of the people don't know about that. The Basil Joseph is the man or the director who created a Minnal Murali. But you know, the awards plays a crucial role in movie industry.
And I feel like we forgot to mention one point here. Because directors nowadays are also becoming good actors.
Yeah.
And of course, actors nowadays are also becoming good directors. For example, Pradeep Ranganathan, who was a director of Komali, has become a great actor. And his
Parthiban.
film, who's going to be released recently, Parthiban. Basil Joseph himself is actually a good actor also and a director. And GVM, GVM has also ventured into acting. And when it comes to actors who have become directors, Kamal Hassan, we could say for script writing. Dhanush has started his directing career right now, right as we are at the peak of Tamil cinema, and he is become is introducing more scripts like his new film Nick,
Idli Kadai,
Idli Kadai,
etc.
of course, and the last film that we saw, Ryan. And I feel like directors, actors, they are becoming multitasking persons. They are taking up various roles in the cinema industry to explore their talents, and I feel like it is our treat to enjoy them.
Okay, my friends. So let's get the session over by providing some of listed films that we itself gave our opinion for best films. List some of the films.
Okay, I would say from Hollywood, if you want to watch really good films, no matter how the genre is, I would say you to check out A24. There's a production company called A24, and their films are really well. They are indie films, but the films that they have produced have been really the talk right now. They have produced so many versatile films that new directors, they have brought out new directors to direct these versatile films that expands the genre of films. It broke the commercial, the same old, same repeat cycle, and has given chances to new people. And it has been in growth since 2021 till now. One such recent example that I saw is Heretic. Heretic is a movie which actually explains about religion on whole, and it is a thriller. And I feel like you guys should check it out. Hollywood movies, of course, Christopher Nolan's movies, Steven Spielberg's, etc. And I could you share your favorite movies?
Actually, my favorite movie like Nayagan. Still now, IMDb rating 9.8. No movie can beat this classical movie. Of course, please see Nayagan. At last, ideal films sometimes become ideal, and ideal films sometimes become ideal. And few times, a movie itself becomes a identity. At last, we conclude this session, and we meet you on our next interesting podcast. Until then,
It's Kishore.
This is Anirudh.
and Joel. At last, this is
This is
cinema.
cinema.